President Joe Biden, it's weird to say it after 4 years of President Donald Trump, but President Joe Biden will be rejoining the non-binding Paris Climate Accord, something that Donald Trump, of course, pulled the United States out of back in 2017. Now, before I get into the details of how Ted Cruz is whining and crying about it, let me just warn you guys and remind you, in case you might have forgotten, that it is a non-binding international agreement with more than 200 different countries signing on to it, agreeing that they are going to try hard to lower carbon emissions in order to, help at least mitigate the impact of climate change. Now, Ted Cruz doesn't like this and is either pretending to be stupid or is incredibly stupid by saying, by rejoining the Paris Climate Agreement, President Biden indicates he's more interested in the views of the citizens of Paris than in the jobs of citizens of Pittsburgh. This agreement will do little to affect the climate and will harm the livelihoods of Americans. So I'm gonna let you take it away for a minute, Awaz, because I'm curious what you think about this argument by Senator Cruz.
I mean, it's stupid, but the only thing interesting about how stupid it is because it's coming from Ted Cruz, the guy, before he decided he wanted to be president of this country, was considered to be the sort of intellectual arm of the Republican Party, right? Like he was supposed to be part of that, like, Ivy League sort of buttoned up, I'll kill you in a debate. Ted Cruz was always the guy that certain types of conservatives would be like, oh, they don't want to get in the ring with Ted Cruz. He'll eat him alive because of his, alleged superior intellect. And ever since he decided to run for president, he's thrown all of that out the window and decided to eat the monkey brains, man. Like this guy has completely lost his mind, right? And publicly anyway, in his shamelessness and willingness to do or say anything that he thinks will curry favor amongst the Republican base. So it's like, you just can't take anything he says seriously anymore. And it's a shame because, this is one of the 100 guys we have in the United States Senate. It's sad.
It's incredibly sad, absolutely. And so obviously the Paris Climate Accord isn't about France. It isn't about Paris. It's about climate change. And it involves an international negotiation that took place in Paris, which is why it's called the Paris Climate Accord. This is something that Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez pointed out in response to Ted Cruz's insanely stupid tweet. She writes, nice tweet, Senator Cruz. Quick question, do you also believe the Geneva Convention was about the views of the citizens of Geneva? Asking for everyone who believes US senators should be competent and not undermine our elections to incite insurrection against the United States. So what she's implying with that last part is that Ted Cruz had absolutely no problem disenfranchising voters from places around the country, including Pittsburgh. So in addition to voting against the certification of Pennsylvania's electoral count, he also tried to get the Supreme Court to toss out the state's vote. It's also worth mentioning, by the way, that Pittsburgh is incredibly supportive of the Paris Climate Accord. Pittsburgh invoked by Cruz and previously by Trump as an example of a city that would be harmed by the agreement, has itself joined the Paris Agreement. And its mayor tweeted this: Pittsburgh has exceeded our Paris commitments, recognized by US mayors as National Environmental Initiative of 2020. We've met our 2030 goal by 100% renewable energy for city operations 10 years early. If we can do it in a city that is/was fueled by coal/nuclear, you can too. And I absolutely love that response. But like the thing that I also want to bring up real quick is when Trump got elected, there were, I think understandably, a lot of people who were upset. Some people were hyperbolic in their rhetoric. They were hyperbolic in, the devastation they were feeling at the time. But we're certainly seeing the same, not just from Trump supporters, like your average voter, person who was part of his base, but by someone like Ted Cruz, who's one of the most powerful people in the world when you really think about it, as one of 100 US senators, right?
Yep.
And he's being so hyperbolic about a non-binding agreement that just wants to lower carbon emissions so we have, a place to live 100 years from now.
Yeah, Ted Cruz, like I said, the guy has absolutely no credibility at this point, right? It's almost like he grew the beard as a way to like do one of those fake disguises, right? Somebody puts a mustache on and the glasses and the nose, and it'll be one of those fake disguises. That's what Ted Cruz is doing. Like he used to be, his identity was he was one of these God botherers, right? Like the God people loved him, fake Christian conservative stuff that he was hawking. And again, the intellectualism stuff that he swore by, right? And again, he was another one of these frauds, one of these sort of Josh Hawley type of frauds who was complaining about the elites all day, every single day. Again, this guy went to nothing but Ivy League schools, got a Supreme Court clerkship. Like this dude has done nothing but swim in elite circles basically his entire adult life. And all he's done has been a fraud. Like when he ran for president, people said he was the single most unlikable person within the Senate because his ambitions were so naked and just so shameless and gutless. And Ted Cruz is just, he is the embodiment of what naked ambition in DC gets you, specifically on the conservative side, right? Like some of this happens on the other side too, but this is just shamelessness at its peak right here.
Yeah, it absolutely is shamelessness. And I want to be clear about one other thing. While I do commend Joe Biden for rejoining the climate Paris Accord, it's been a few years now where we can now look back at how other countries are doing. Obviously, the United States pulled out of it, so I'm not going to give the United States much credit in abiding by some of the commitments. But there's been some analysis showing that many countries who agreed to be part of this haven't really been able to meet their own commitments and goals. Although analysts say the pact has helped make progress toward its goal of preventing average global temperatures from increasing by 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. The effort is also shadowed by ample evidence that many countries aren't living up to those promises they made in 2015. And even nations that had kept those promises, some researchers forecast that global temperatures would rise by 2.6 degrees Celsius by the end of the century, underlining the need for stronger action. And I absolutely agree with that. In fact, one climate scientist from Princeton University said this in an interview with Science magazine: if a grade is awarded to the Paris Pact based on whether we have any prospect of meeting a 2 degrees Celsius target, from that point of view, it's probably a D or an F. So I'm not saying that because I want to minimize the importance of these types of international negotiations and deals. They're important, but it is to say that it's not robust enough, partly because it's non-binding in preventing, the damage that we're going to experience through climate change. So just some, updates and information on that.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.